of the blame, but it should never have come down to him, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get, and I was listening to Brian Billick's, breakdown of the situation on NFL Network, that it's one of the basics that you're taught in football, of how to handle an onside kick and what everybody's job is. And Bostic just decided to ignore his job, and as Billick called it, go off script and try to catch the ball instead of just trying to take out his assignment like he was supposed to. And that totally allowed Seattle to take control. But with the amount of turnovers in the first half, like you guys talked about, and yes, Seattle's defense kept them out of the end zone, but they still were down 16-0 at the half against Seattle. I mean, that's got to, if you got to grade that on a curve. If you're looking at me, if you're up 16-0 on Seattle at the half, that's the equivalent of being up 32-0 on somebody else. Just because their defense is that strong. But Green Bay just tried to get the hell out of there before it all came crashing in, and they set themselves up.
Yeah, and you can look at their next to last drive in the fourth quarter, to where they had, they were up 19-7. They ran it 3 times and punted it. And it looked like they had no interest whatsoever in getting a first down. They were going to run it. If they didn't get the first down, they were going to punt it. It's exactly what they did. Gave Seattle the ball back. That's where they got the momentum that led to the onside kick. If they would have just got 1 first down in that drive, if they would have been a little aggressive, and you have arguably the best quarterback in the NFL on your team, and you run the ball 3 times and go 3 and out, and that completely changed the game. To me, that was where I was most surprised. I'm like, you have the players in Cobb, in Jordy Nelson, you have some solid tight ends. You have the players to be able to do a little 5-6 yard pass, not go deep, not put yourself in a situation to where you can, I know Rodgers had 2 picks, not put yourself in a situation where you're going to turn the ball over. I was just really surprised by that play calling.
Yeah, that was so un-McCarthy-like. I mean, that's not usually the kind of play caller that he is, and I agree with you, Steve. I mean, you got to take what they're giving you, and they're always going to give you those short 5 to 6 yard passes. Always take them, and save to take your shots a little bit later. And they just didn't do a good job of that. And Lacey was having a decent game. It wasn't like, basically the Packers ran into the same trouble that the Colts did, but without moving too far ahead. And then James Starks gets into the game. And what does this guy do? He starts pulling up 8 yards of offense at a chunk. The guy was looking good. They could have even went with James Starks more than Eddie Lacy if they wanted to go that way, but they just didn't. They weren't taking what the Seahawks were willing to give them.
Mm-hmm.
In the first half, the Green Bay Packers had 115 passing yards. The Seattle Seahawks had 8.
Isn't that amazing?
8 total passing yards.
Amazing.
Russell Wilson was 2 of 9 for 12 yards. He lost 4 on a sack. On 2 sacks. But
those first 3 quarters were 3 of the worst offensive quarters I've ever seen a team put up. Because if you think about it, their lone touchdown going into the fourth quarter was on that trick play from their special teams. Those first 3 quarters were embarrassing. Like, I could not believe what I was seeing. It was insane.
You go by their first half possessions: interception, fumble, punt, interception, interception. It's what you said, god awful. There's no other word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Jim Wiedner of thefantasygreek.com. He covers the Packers for us, and he's done a fantastic job this year. Come check out his article, Seahawks Remarkable Fourth Quarter Comeback Dooms Packers. It's just a really great analysis of the game and summarizes a lot of things that we've already mentioned. And this is coming from a fellow who happens to be a Packers fan, but can write as objectively as possible about his own team. And, I think it's great. And I love how he tips his hat to the Seahawks defense. I mean, the Seahawks defense was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
They're really good.
Oh, really good. I mean, I'm sitting there, I watched the beginning of the game at one of the local bars out in Wrigleyville. And we had a couple tables of Packer fans, and they were all going nuts on that first touchdown. And I look at my wife, and I'm like, should I just walk over there and tell them to take a good look at that touchdown, because that'll be the last one that they'll see.
Oh.
And she,
Nice.
she of course says, no way, don't do that. I'm like, all right. But then the touchdown gets called back. I'm like, see, what did I tell you? And then when they had the real touchdown that actually did count, that there was the only touchdown they saw on the day. I mean, I was just dumbfounded, because this is one of the best offenses in the league. And it wasn't like Aaron Rodgers looked gimpy. I mean, he looked fine up until, what was it, the third or fourth quarter, when he went for that long run and he pulled up a little bit. I can't put it on him. And certainly that offensive line, they played like champs for the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
They were phenomenal.
Yeah, it's there was the tale of two defenses. There was Seattle playing how we expect them to.
Yeah.
And then there was Green Bay playing like nobody expects them to. You know what I mean? They've played good enough, but you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop with that defense. Are they just winning games because they're not playing? They're playing suspect talent. Or do they just look that good against the Bears because the Bears were a train wreck this year? You know, you don't. They don't have those names on paper per se, and everyone's waiting for the demise. But they went out and did to Seattle what Seattle does to other teams. They punch people in the mouth.
Yeah. And that's why I was a little disheartened by all of the flack that Don Capers was getting today because of, I mean, in overtime, it looked like the defense just stayed on the sidelines. And he's getting a lot of flack for that today, where for 3.5 quarters, Green Bay played almost pitcher-perfect defense. They pressured the quarterback. They had turnovers. They gave up no points because, like I said, the only score was on special teams. So they played a perfect defensive game for 3.5 quarters. And, yeah, they did have a lapse towards the end that ended up losing the game, but I just don't see why all the blame is being thrown in one direction today.
Oh, everyone likes a scapegoat and try to figure out something, but there's just as much at fault over Green Bay's offense in the second half as there is on the defense.
Oh yeah, their play calling was terrible, and I even heard today, and I agree with it. Their very first drive, you wanna make a statement, especially against a team like Seattle in their home. You want to make a statement. You got them to go 3 and out their first time with the ball. You have a 4th and goal on the 1. In this kind of situation, I think if they would have went for it, they would have gotten it. And it would have set and even if they didn't get it, you're putting Seattle, although they have to go 99 yards to score a touchdown, and if you allow a team to go 99 yards to score a touchdown in a championship game, maybe you shouldn't be there. So to me, that made me feel a little apprehensive about what Green Bay's plan was. Because I know everyone says go for the points, but in this situation, especially the last time Green Bay was there, the first game of the season, they were, for lack of a better word, embarrassed by what Seattle did to them that first game. So to me, I think setting an offensive tone in that first drive would have made a huge difference. Because no matter how many field goals they got in this game, I never felt confident that Green Bay was going to win this game. Not once during the game, even when they were up 16-0 halfway through the third quarter, I still did not think they were going to win this game.
Really?
There was just something about just the way everything was going on. I knew Seattle had it in them, and Green Bay just looked like they were playing not to lose. It didn't look like they were playing to win.
Yeah, I will say this: that I thought Green Bay was going to win this game up until the fake field goal.
Yeah, Keith, I'm right there with you. Steve, I don't know what the heck you were thinking. I mean, the Seahawks were bad. They were terrible on offense up until that
they
fake
were, but
field goal
every
attempt.
time Green Bay kicked a field goal, I said to myself, that's not enough. You're still playing against the Super Bowl champions. And 5 field goals and 1 touchdown is not going to be enough. It just isn't. I thought that. I had that thought going through my head every time they made a decision or they got close and they got in the red zone. I mean, they were in the red zone more than they weren't that game. and they just could not score a touchdown. And it wasn't even just me. Like, I heard the commentators saying, oh, another field goal. Oh, wow, they've been in the red zone a bunch. And it really started to click to me, like, when you're in this kind of a game and that kind of a stadium, you really do need to score touchdowns when you have as many opportunities as they had.
Well, and that's not to say, but that's not to say McCarthy did not make the good decision. I mean, I thought his decisions to get the field goals was the right decision, because in a game like this, you got to get the points. You can't leave any opportunity on the table.
But see, that's the thing. To me, I think they left opportunities on the table by not.
No.
Because their defense was playing so well, though. Well, no, what I was saying is Seattle's offense was playing so poorly, and Green Bay's defense was playing so well that when they were, within the 10-yard line, which happened a couple times during the game, to me, I think going for it, especially on that, like I said, 4th and goal on the 1-yard line, it just, to me, seemed like it would have set a different tone for the game. Because even my wife, she was like, wow, they got another field goal. She was even saying the same thing I was saying. It's like, it just didn't seem like they were being aggressive enough. And in that game, they needed to be more aggressive. And it ended up proving true, because all the field goals in the world didn't matter because they still came up short.
Okay. I mean, they did come up short, but they came up short because of what Seattle did with their opportunities at the end of the game. Like, somehow Russell Wilson had been playing like a deer in headlights the entire game up until those last few drives, where he finally looked like the Russell Wilson that should have taken the field on the very first drive. I mean, he looked like he calmed down. He looked like he could see the field now. He could see the defenders. He was communicating well with his receivers, and he was making the plays. And then plus you had Marshawn Lynch, who just blew it up right there at the end. I mean, if you could stop Marshawn Lynch, you can beat these Seattle Seahawks.
And let's not lose sight of the fact that Green Bay had only 2 possessions in the third quarter.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. 2
possessions, each holding the ball for just a little over 2 minutes each time, and both times they punted. The first possession was 3 plays for 9 yards, and then the second possession was 4 plays for 7 yards. They did manage to get a first down before they had to punt, but so going back to Jim's point about just Seattle's defense more than anything. They figured out Green Bay's defense in the second half, because if you look at the yards per drive for Seattle in the first half, I'm just going to go down drive by drive. These are the yards gained on each drive: 3, 0, 0, 8, 0, 51, but that ended up in an interception, and then -3 to end the half.
Wow,
that's ridiculous. Then halftime clicks, and 9. 83, -1, 37, 0, 69, 50, -1 to send it to overtime, and then 87 in overtime. So whether you want to say wore down, probably a better, you know what I mean? Because Green Bay's offense was only on the field twice in the third quarter.
Yeah. But also, I mean, Seattle's offense was better than what they showed in those first 3 quarters. So it was a matter of time before they started playing the way we all know they can play. Because Green Bay's defense is very good, and they were very good, but a lot of what Seattle did wrong in that game wasn't necessarily what Green Bay's defense was giving them. They were making just horrible plays. They were making no plays. Like some of the throws Russell Wilson was throwing, and to me, one of the biggest decisions that really turned around his game is when in the fourth quarter, especially in that final drive, he started running the ball a little bit.
Yes.
Because you didn't see that all game.
Steve, yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wish I brought that up. Yeah. Suddenly when he was running the ball, they looked a little disenfranchised.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when especially it seemed like the late third, or maybe it was the early fourth or middle fourth quarters when they started to run the zone read a little bit. I thought that was a major difference too for Seattle.
That's interesting.
Once Seattle started to get Wilson a little bit more involved that way, especially in the fourth quarter, where Green Bay was on the field for most of the third quarter, Green Bay's defense. I think that really just kind of put the nail in the coffin there.
Yeah. I got to give a shout out to Sammy Bassetta,